I'm late. I'm late for a very important date. No time to say hello, goodbye. I'm late. Oh, I am so sorry, everybody. It took longer than expected.
But in all seriousness, though, apologies, everyone, for taking so long to go ahead and to get these reflections started. I just had to take care of Kenzo and then take care of some other things around the house. So my sincerest apologies for making you all wait so long. But we got a lot of ground to cover today, so let's go ahead and get started. Yo, peoples, Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another One Piece reflection stream where we'll be going over all the chapters that we have in April. And they were some really good chapters. That voice surprised you? You never know what type of voice I'm going to pull out in front of a stream. That sounded better in my head. You never know what voice I'm going to use at the front of the stream. Dang it, I set myself up with sentences that could be taken way out of context. My goodness, even after all these years, I still say stuff like that. My apologies. But good to see you, Ogata-san. I was thinking about dressing up in my Admiral gear, but that'll have to wait until next month because I just didn't have the time to do it, and I didn't want to make you guys wait any longer. So I will have you know that my second bookshelf has been built, and I already have it sitting on one side of my room. Hold on, let me see if I could turn it just a bit. As you can see, bookshelf is over there on the back half of the room, and what I have over there is Bleach, Dragon Ball, Jujutsu Kaisen, and My Hero Academia. And I gotta readjust everything right now. Good to see you, Gajil. Yo! So I'm currently working on filling that right now. I'm currently working on getting the rest of the Jujutsu Kaisen volumes, and I'm pretty sure I'll have them all before I get knee deep into it. So that way I can just go from volume 0 all the way to the most recent volume right now, because I just started running out of room on my previous one back there, which I have One Punch Man, Naruto, and One Piece on, with a little bit of the volumes of Solo Leveling down at the bottom. So I kind of made some extra room, so just in case there's new volumes of One Punch Man, which I believe don't come out until either near the end of this year or next year, because One Punch Man volumes kind of don't release as often as One Piece, Dragon Ball, or My Hero Academia. I believe there should be another volume dropping this month as well, so we're just going to have to see and cross that bridge when we get to it. But we have 3 chapters to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry to get sidetracked, but I just wanted to let you know that bookshelf is good. I just need to get the rest of the volumes of Jujutsu Kaisen. So when I start my series next week, I can just get started recording, because they will be videos. They won't be streams until I catch up, but they will be videos that I can edit and just drop, as I have in the past with my read-throughs of My Hero Academia, and definitely like my read-through series of Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. So I'm looking forward to starting my videos of me reading through the volumes of One Punch Man and Jujutsu Kaisen as well. So I'm very excited to see that. But good to see you, Ogata-san. Good to see you, Gajil, as well. We got 3 chapters this month, and all of them were good. We got 3 chapters and all of them were good, and it just showed us more and more of the capabilities of Luffy in his Gear 4th state. So, I got Viz up here, and I also have the One Piece Wiki that has like the quick references, chapter notes, and things that I might have missed as well. So, real quick, let me put the Gear 5 page over there as well, because I want to go over Gear 5 as we talk about it. So, the first chapter we got was chapter 1000. All the chapters that we got in April were chapter 1045, 46, and 47. And starting with chapter 1045, we have Luffy after the moments. Hold on, let me go back. In chapter 1044, that was a chapter where it was pretty much revealed what Luffy's Devil Fruit was, and it ended with Gear 5 being revealed, with Kaido saying, "I'm sorry about that idiot earlier. I didn't want to win that way." Obviously talking about Bowler Hat Guy from CP0, and Kaido, and with Luffy saying, "Don't sweat it, let's finish this up." So going into chapter 1045, this is where the next stage of the battle starts with Luffy. And chapter 1045, which is called Next Level, it has Kaido saying, "I was certain that you were dead. Given that you're transferring your rubber power to other things, I suppose I can interpret this as the awakening of your paramecia powers. But something doesn't add up. Body transformations like that are the trademark of Zoan powers." This is Kaido not really piecing together that Luffy's abilities are of like a special mythical Zoan type. You know, with the way it is with Marco has 3 properties of all different types of devil fruits. The Zoan abilities of a phoenix, you know, the ability to turn into a bird and fly. The paramecia ability to heal himself of any wound, and also to heal others with his flames, and the Logia type powers that comes with his phoenix form that allows him to become intangible both in his human form and in his Zoan form as well. Luffy is displaying capabilities of the paramecia and Zoan type as well, and I feel like when it comes to it, we start to realize that there's more to Luffy's powers than any other mythical Zoan that we've seen so far. But Kaido attempts to chomp down on Luffy, and he does in fact chomp down on Luffy. And then Kaido, and the way his eyes look, I feel like he doesn't want to swallow Luffy. He just wants to bite down on him, but he accidentally swallows Luffy. And then it has Luffy zigzagging his way through Kaido's body. And then it has Luffy using Gum Gum Balloon inside of Kaido's body, which actually starts to physically harms Kaido from the inside. With Kaido saying, "You little," and then it has Kaido floating up in the air as a ginormous swelling of his stomach has Luffy inside, and he starts floating upwards with Yamato and Momonosuke watching on respectively. And Momonosuke and Yamato are wondering what's going on. What's that? What's happening? I don't understand. Kaido is getting fatter. Was that always one of his forms? And Yamato is wondering, did my father have one of those? And she's looking like, I don't remember my father having one of those forms. Is that something else he can do? And Kaido is wondering what the heck is going on with me. My body isn't made of rubber, but that's the state, and that's the uniqueness of Gear 5 because it allows Luffy to affect not only himself and his environment, but also the people that he's actually physically touching as well. So even though Luffy is swelling inside of Kaido's body isn't exploding due to the uniqueness of Luffy's awakening. Yo, CJ, enter the Looney Tunes stage. Exactly, Gajeel, that's exactly what it is. So while Luffy's inside of Kaido, and someone made a comment that said like, oh, this is Yamato using observation haki to see what's going on, or Kaido using observation, or Luffy using observation. But no, it's Luffy just inside of Kaido's body, who is cartoonishly able to see the light coming in through Kaido's eyes, with Luffy saying, oh, I see 2 lights, and he just stretches his arms straight through Kaido's eyes. Now, mind you, his arms are not bursting through Kaido's eyes, harming them, but it's cartoonishly going through his eyes and grabbing him through his face. And then Luffy, using the recoil of his rubber abilities, slingshots and forces himself out of the mouth of Kaido. He basically self-regurgitates himself outside of Kaido, with him using a move called Gum Gum Escape Rocket. And then it shows Luffy laughing, kind of the trademark of him being in his Gear 5 state, elation and a big, ginormous sense of confidence. And it has Luffy laughing and him expelling the air out of his mouth as he goes shooting up into the sky. And everyone is wondering, what? And both Momonosuke and Yamato are both looking awestruck as Luffy comes out of the clouds in basically what the rest of his body would look like if he used Gear 3rd throughout his entire body with a new move called Gum Gum Giant. And it shows Luffy turning into a giant that is able to, contend with Kaido. And Kaido is shocked by this. He doesn't say anything. Both Momonosuke and Yamato are saying, "What is that? Why do I hear Luffy's voice coming from there? Is that him?" And Kaido bites down on the midsection of Luffy, but Luffy, kind of not bothered by this, grabs Kaido by one end of his body and then Kaido by his horns and proceeds to use another move called Gum Gum Jump Rope and just basically still falling through the air, just jump roping with Kaido as they make their way towards the ground. And while this is going on, Kaido uses, and blasts Luffy, and Luffy goes sailing off in another direction. And Luffy's body is cartoonishly charcoaled, with Yamato saying, "Oh no, he took the full brunt of the blast breath." And Luffy, still in cartoon mode, opens up his eyes and says, "That does it." And he just goes grrr, and then he starts revving up in the air, and in midair, fully stops, and in a trail of fire in midair, runs on the air itself, and runs right back to Onigashima with, lightning speed. And Kaido has assumed his hybrid form, I guess in an attempt to keep Luffy from doing what he did before, such as, finding himself in Kaido's body and then, expanding himself. Kaido is in his hybrid form now, with Luffy saying gum gum, and Kaido uses Conqueror of Three Worlds, Ragnarok, and slams Luffy's face directly through the roof of the performance floor, pretty much just slams it completely through Onigashima, with Luffy saying, "Ow!" with his eyes popping out of his skull, and everyone is watching and seeing this cartoonish face come through with eyes popping out of his skull. And Luffy's not the only one affected by this, as Law, Kid, Chopper, Nami, and Tama all see this and their eyes come out of their skull, which means that his mythical Zoan powers and his awakening has a radius that not only affects the environment and the enemies he's facing, but pretty much anyone else in the immediate vicinity. And then Luffy's face starts to recoil and goes back through the roof, and it gets squished in the small hole that it's made, and he gets forced right back up to the floor. Forced back up to the roof with his face snapping back to its original size. And it shows Luffy, whose body was still in a giant state. Now, mind you, his body was still in a Gum Gum giant state. But as soon as his face snaps back into itself, he goes back to his original size. And Kaido's all like, "It's like something from a comic book." And Luffy sits back up with Kaido saying, "Well, that was a very entertaining show, but you've reached your limit, haven't you? You cannot defeat me." And Luffy just says, "Shut up!" And then it shows the effects of Gear 5 wearing off. And it shows his hair turning black again, his face starting to get haggard like it was when Gear 4 ended in Dressrosa, and then it goes even saggier and old-looking and even more haggard, as if he took some of the energy steroids from Fishman Island, with Luffy becoming far more tired than he's ever been before. With him saying, "I'm all tuckered out." And Kaido's wondering, "Who are you?" Because, this is something that Kaido's never faced before. The ridiculousness of the Nika fruit, of the human Nika model. And he picks up his Asaikai, with Luffy saying, "Oh yeah, I was dying before this. Wow, it takes a lot of energy." With Kaido saying, "You have my assurances. After you die, someone will tell the tale of your great battle." Which is kind of like what he was saying to Odin before he killed Odin. People will speak of your name after today. So he's having that same type of final talk with Luffy. With Luffy saying, "I don't need any of that. Once we're dead, the only thing that's left here is bones." And then Luffy starts laughing. As Yamato says, "It really is Luffy. It didn't just look like him because his hair and clothes turned white," which lets you know that the effects of this awakening not only it fully changes Luffy's appearance, not just his face and body, but it also changes his clothes as well. With Momonosuke saying, "But his voice is nearly dying out." Luffy says, "This cannot end yet. Momo, Tama, Kinemon, Pedro." With Kaido saying, "Urururu. Careful or you'll die." And Luffy says, "You actually think I'm afraid of that? Come on, heart, hit that beat." And then he makes his heart start beating the rhythm of Drums of Liberation, which jumpstarts Gear 5 again. His body changes, Conqueror's Haki emanates off of him again, with Kaido saying, "Very well then," and Luffy jumping in the air saying, "Yeah, that's the sound," with Kaido bearing down on Luffy with his Hassaikai, and Yamato saying, "Look out, Luffy!" And Luffy getting hit directly in the face by the Hassaikai, like in the back of the head, but his body malformed to the shape of the Hassaikai. Akin to that of how Katakuri would behave, like morphing his body around the attack so that he doesn't take damage. Luffy's body, in response to getting hit, morphs into the shape of the spikes and, form of Kaido's Kanabo, with Luffy just saying, "Ow!" And Yamato's just kind of deadpan looking on like, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. Brings back Skypiea memories. His transformation is like Sengoku's. It's kind of like that when you think about it, because Sengoku's clothes changed when he assumed his Buddha form. Whole body and clothes change in response to his Buddha form. This is the same thing for Luffy. Whole body and clothes have changed in response to his Nika form. But Luffy gets hit in the head with a Hassaikai, and he starts, spin dashing away from Kaido with his face still in the shape of where he was hit. And Kaido tries to hit where Luffy is, but he hits the ground, and since the ground is still rubberized, Luffy gets hit by the snapback of this, and his body then gets squashed from the response of this. Like, his body underneath it gets squashed, and he's, smashed as he gets sent flying towards a nearby rock pillar, with him saying 3, 2, 1, and then he's at 0, and his body's back to his original shape, and then he responds by sailing right back towards Kaido, and then he starts spinning his arms in like a propeller-like fashion towards Kaido, with Kaido thinking, "What does all of this mean? He turns all white. He uses the colors of armament and the Supreme King, and can transfer his power to other things. I've never seen such freewheeling combat before. There is no one in this world who can defeat me." And as he says this, Luffy just punches straight through the skull of Kaido. Just punches straight through it. Hand goes in through the front, comes out the back, and it shows an indent where Kaido's face is as Luffy finishes the attack, and it shows blood coming out of Kaido as he got hit by this Conqueror's Haki imbued attack and is sent falling backwards. With Luffy just saying, "Isn't this fun, Kaido?" And that's the end of chapter 1045. Now, let's go over the summary of it. Luffy uses his Gear 5 awakened form to both manipulate the environment like rubber and freely change the shape of his body, and Kaido is left baffled as Luffy barrages him with increasingly unorthodox moves. Kinda like how Luffy was facing off against Enel, and since Enel had observation haki back then that was boosted by his, Goro Goro no Mi, Luffy decided to do the unorthodox thing and turned his mind off and used Gum Gum Octopus and use his ability to turn his mind off and then just cause his whole body to go, his arms and limbs to go limp, and then attack a opposite wall so that Enel couldn't anticipate what his attacks were, and Enel was barraged by all these attacks because Luffy wasn't seeing where these punches and kicks were going. He was just letting them go wherever they were, and they managed to just hit Enel because Enel couldn't anticipate what he couldn't use observation haki on. This is the same thing with Kaido. Kaido is facing off against Luffy, who is using moves that are out of the ordinary, that really can't be anticipated because it is just so random. So Kaido's having a tough time anticipating these moves because Luffy is just making this up as he goes along. However, Luffy does need to make a great effort to maintain this form due to his near-death state, which makes me wonder that since this has such an adverse effect on him, leaving him, because he was in a near-death state before he started this. And the only reason why his body is able to move right now is because of the imaginative and rejuvenative power of the awakened Gear 5 state and in the awakening of the mythical Nika model as well. But it makes me wonder what the drawback is going to be once this form wears off. Because I brought this up before. In Gear 2nd, the drawback is that he's basically doping his body. In Gear 2nd. He's shortening his lifespan in order to, forcibly pump more blood throughout his body. In Gear 3rd, the drawback was using Gear 3rd to increase his body size had the drawback of making his body smaller. In Gear 4th, the drawback for that was that he wasn't able to use Haki for an extended period of time, and he was increasingly tired from using Gear 4th. And even though he's shown mastery over all three as of right now, Gear 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, Gear 5 is the newest form he has. And I feel like the drawback for this is going to be even greater than all three of the previous forms combined. Think about it. They've all had a drawback. Luffy is not so strong right now where he won't suffer any drawback from using this power that basically brought him back from the brink of death. Also, hey Psycho, what's going on? So what type of drawback is he going to suffer once all is said and done? Because this isn't just instantly healing him. His body is beyond tired and he was in a near-death-like state even when he started to fade out of the form. So what possibly could we see as far as drawbacks are concerned once this form is done and over with? He's going to sleep for 3 months, maybe a year. Who knows, Gajio? But the drawback is Zoro is already suffering a drawback from using the ultra regenerative medicine that Miyagi gave him in order for Zoro to take on King and prevail against King. But the drawback would be 2 times greater than whatever damage he suffered beforehand. Now, remember, the damage he suffered beforehand was trying to block an attack from a combination of both Big Mom and Kaido, which was by far the most powerful attack we have ever seen in all of One Piece. The strength of 2 Yonko combined together to form a ginormous shockwave that pretty much equaled the same size of Onigashima, and Zoro tried to take that whole attack on himself. The only thing that kept Zoro from being out of the fight was the regenerative medicine that Miyagi gave him in order for Zoro to take on King. And now Zoro is currently suffering these effects. He is basically useless right now, with the only person who managed to save him from a watery grave being Frankie. So imagine what penalties Zoro is going to... imagine what penalty Luffy is going to suffer. Sorry, I read you when you said Zoro's a Chad. He is. He's one of the biggest MVPs of this entire arc, alongside Marco and... I want to say the Akazaya 9 because they'd put in some work as well. But what type of penalty do you think Luffy's going to suffer once this fighting's over? Because if I remember correctly, the last big, ginormous, major fight that he's had was the fight against... Doflamingo and Katakuri. Those were his biggest fights that he's had in the past. Because with Doflamingo... After he was done beating Doflamingo, he was unconscious for several days. And that was after him using Gear 4th. And during that time, the Navy kept trying to find out where they were, and Fujitoro was rolling dice trying to figure out, would this be a good day for me to go and arrest them? But all this time, everyone has just been recuperating their strength, and Luffy was unconscious completely. Couldn't even see off Sabo as Sabo went back to the revolutionaries. Then there's a fight with Katakuri, and I can't quite remember if Luffy was unconscious after the events of defeating Katakuri. I can't really remember. I remember more from Dressrosa and the effects of that than I do than the aftermath of the fight between Katakuri and Luffy. I can't remember if Luffy was unconscious after that. I can't really remember. Someone will remind me. But this is the biggest major fight that Luffy's had, and he's using a brand new form that for all we know, could just be allowing him to fight in a near death-like state, and we don't know what he's going to be like when he comes out of it. It's a good thing that Chopper's on Onigashima right now, because he's definitely going to have to look over Luffy and make sure Luffy is fine after the events of this. But we don't know what the effects of the drawbacks of Gear 5 is going to be. So if we go over here to the chapter notes on the wiki, the fight between Luffy and Kaido continues. Kaido points out that Luffy's awakening has elements of both Paramecia and Zoan fruits. Yet another example of mythical Zoans displaying different traits of different devil fruits as well. When it comes to mythical Zoans, I feel like Marco's the best example of the diversity of mythical Zoans, because we've seen mythical Zoans in the terms of Yamato and Kaido and even Katarina Devon, but we don't know the extent of that, and we don't know the fullest extent of Sengoku and whether he has like the secondary traits of other different devil fruits. But Marco is the first and foremost example for mythical Zoans having different types of devil fruit categories within their single power outlet, and Luffy's the next one we see. Now, I guess you could count Yamato with her what is it? Hold on. I keep forgetting the name of her devil fruit. Let me go over to mythical type. Her Okuchi no Makami by Yamato that she ate, which allows her to assume a Zoan form, but also allows her to manipulate a different type of element as well. And if I go over here, the most formidable and distinguishing facet of mythical Zoan fruits is their bestowing of unique mythical abilities that are supplementary to the transformation itself, such as the Phoenix Zoan's ability to generate flames with healing properties, or the Nine-Tailed Fox's Zoan ability to transform into someone's lookalike. There are even some cases of mythical Zoan users being able to access these abilities without transforming. Furthermore, a mythical Zoan fruit may bestow more than a single special ability, e.g., Kaido being able to generate different elements, fire, lightning, and wind in his Azure Dragon form, as well as create special flame clouds that can be used as footholds so that he can make himself and other things fly. And as of right now, we only have 8 mythical Zoans that have been shown in canon. The Tori Tori no Mi model Phoenix by Marco, the Hito Hito no Mi model Daibutsu by Sengoku, the Uo Uo no Mi model Seiryu by Kaido, the Ino Ino no Mi model Kyubi no Kitsune, eaten by Katarina Devon, the Hebi Hebi no Mi model Yamata no Orochi, eaten by Orochi, the Hito Hito no Mi model Onyudo, eaten by Onimaru, the Inu Inu no Mi model Okuchi no Makami, eaten by Yamato, and the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, eaten by Luffy. Then, of course, we have the unofficial ones, such as the Bake Danuki by Pato and the Bato Bato no Mi model Vampire, eaten by Patrick Redfield, both 2 characters from One Piece Unlimited World Red. And then the Tori Tori no Mi model Nue, eaten by Toratsugu, which is part of a One Piece play in the past. But the uniqueness of Paramecia of mythical Zoans, we see another example of this fruit having the capabilities of another type of devil fruit. Kaido once again swallows Luffy, but the latter manages to escape. More properties of Gear 5 are shown. Luffy's awakening can somehow affect organic material. Gear 5 allows Luffy to grow his entire body to the size of a giant. He then uses Kaido's dragon form like a jumping rope. This also drains his energy to a point that he is visibly aging. However, he manages to get back up quickly. Luffy's body becomes malleable and follows the shape of Kaido's Hasaikai when hit, and then it has Luffy manages to pin Kaido down. So those are the major things that happened in Chapter 1045. Let's go ahead and move on to Chapter 1046. Ozzy, good to see you. I wonder if Kaido will ever throw hands in a final battle. Luffy, so he's been fighting with his Kanabo. You wonder if Kaido will just use hand-to-hand combat? That thought never crossed my mind. We've never seen Kaido actually try to physically deal with people. He's always dealt with it by, I'ma use my big old beating stick and hit you with it. That's all he's ever used. We've never seen if he's capable of any martial arts or any sort of different kind of combat ability, physical combat ability, other than just swinging his Kanabo around. So I wonder if Kaido is even capable of doing that, or if he's just used to using this for so many years. Because if you remember, Kaido's had this Hasaikai, his Kanabo, since he joined Rocks. He's had it that entire time he was on Rox's crew, and then has been using it ever since. So I wonder if he even knows how to fight without even using it. Because you know how Ace was so used to using his devil fruit that he never thought about using any other type of way of fighting other than using his devil fruit, and he became so reliant on it that it's one of the reasons why he lost to Blackbeard. He became overly reliant on his devil fruit. So I wonder if Kaido is capable of using any other type of fighting style other than swinging his Kanabo around. Because if not, then that means this is another example of another individual in One Piece becoming so reliant on one type of way of fighting that they've shut themselves off from learning how to fight just on the offhand chance they don't have their weapon of choice with them. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is the only way that Kaido knows how to fight, because this is the only way he's ever fought and ever tried. He has that don't fix what ain't broke type mentality. If me hitting people with this big old club works, I'm going to keep using it. And I see no reason for me to change. It's worked successfully all these decades, so why switch things up if this is effective? I wouldn't be surprised if Kaido doesn't know how to do anything else other than swing his Kanabo around. Oh, hands in a fight in his final battle with Luffy, so he's been fighting with his Kanabo so far, is what you meant to say. It's all good. It's all good, Ozzy. But it just makes me wonder. Does Kaido know how to fight other than using his Kanabo at all? Or is this just the only way he knows how to fight? Because here's another thing. We've never seen anyone try and aim for Kaido's Kanabo overall. We've never seen anyone try to disarm Kaido. Either he's got the strongest kung fu grip in all of One Piece, or it just never dawned on anyone to try that. Makes you wonder. But that's the end of chapter 1045. Let's go ahead and move on to 1046, which is called Raizo. And this didn't really focus too much on the fight between Luffy and Kaido, because it focuses on it in the first couple of pages, but it doesn't focus on it too much as it resorts to all the things that are going in Onigashima right now. Like, it's still frantic. There's still tons of panic. Everyone is wondering what to do. But after Luffy punches straight through Kaido, Luffy is still bouncing through the air, kind of like the effects of Bounce Man, where Luffy could uncontrollably bounce through the air due to the bounciness of Gear 4th during the time of Dressrosa. Luffy is rubberizing everything around him, and so whenever he hits the ground, he's just bouncing off of it, just somersaulting, and his heart is still going through, is still beating the drums of liberation, with Luffy saying, "What do you think I should call that last one? Gum Gum what?" And Kaido gets up saying, "I just have one question. Who are you?" And then it cuts to Zunisha making its way towards Zoe, because it still shows the Navy warships that are directly in front of Zunisha, with Zunisha thinking, "How long has it been since I heard this rhythm, Joy Boy? Oh, Joy Boy. It's as though you're right here. My heart is racing. I cannot help but feel that fate is at work. I cannot help but put my hopes in him." When then Luffy says, "Who am I? I'm Monkey D. Luffy, the man who will surpass you and become king of the pirates." And then it's a very good shot of Luffy just smiling at Kaido, like you get a good view of his face, the big old cheese he has on his face, the manic look in his eyes. And Kaido says, "I'm relieved to hear you've still got some sass, Straw Hat. Awakening is what happens when your mind and body catch up to your powers, and those are certainly ridiculous powers. I've lost quite a lot. Much of what I've built up over the years. My followers, my castle, same for you, right?" And then Luffy says, "But there's still something I gotta take back from you." And then Kaido, not giving Luffy a chance to respond, barrages Luffy with Kundali Dragonstorm, and then it shows Luffy's body at multiple points getting hit by Kaido's Kanabo, and it shows the imprints of the Kanabo hitting him over the legs and every other place. If this was a normal person, this would have assuredly killed them outright. If not, just broken all of their bones because Luffy's getting impacted in the spots where your bones would just definitely snap from the impact. And then Luffy responds with his own barrage of punches, that shows his body, that shows Kaido's body forming around these punches. Like you see, in the past when Luffy would get shot with a bullet and it would show the bullet hit his skin and then his skin would stretch and then recoil back from where the bullet would impact. Kaido's body is doing the same thing. It's showing his body stretching from the impact of Luffy's punches. Now, we don't get a name for this attack, but it shows Luffy coughing and huffing. And then it shows Kaido saying, "The battle is burning everything below, from the performance floor to the castle. There are this is Luffy saying, "The battle is burning everything below, from the performance floor to the castle. There are thousands of your men trapped down there too. They will all burn to death." No, this is Kaido saying it. "The battle is burning everything below, from the performance floor to the castle." I was right the first time. "There are thousands of your men trapped down there. They will all burn to death." And Luffy says, "Nah, I left everyone else in charge down there. All I have to do is beat you." And then he spin dashes over to where Kaido is. Like he revs up like Sonic and goes over to where Kaido is. And then Kaido says, "Demolition Gus." And even in his hybrid form, he shoots blades of wind towards Luffy, and Luffy pulls a Jim Carrey and pulls his entire legs up out of the path of this attack. Like Jim Carrey's the mask and pulls his legs up to avoid the attack completely, which slices cleanly through a rock in the distance in the back. Then we cut to the other side of the fights that are going on right now. Am I a Naruto fan or a Naruto watcher? I've watched all of Naruto, and I've read through all of Naruto as well, but I kind of want to, at some point, read through all of Naruto at some point in the future, but I already got One Punch Man and Jujutsu Kaisen lined up, so Naruto will be a little bit later, but I do intend to go through the whole story of Naruto just to have that series here. Did Kaido expect Luffy to say that he was Joy Boy? I wouldn't be surprised if he did. But Gliding Ghoul, I do love Naruto. I talk about Naruto quite a bit here on this channel, including what I would love to see in a Naruto Musou game. If you don't know what a Musou game is, it's basically a Dynasty Warriors type game. But just imagine it's set in Naruto and you're playing as Madara Uchiha, or Sage of Six Paths, or the First Hokage, or the Raikage, or the Mizukage, and a whole bunch of other different characters. I would love to see a Naruto Musou, but I would like to see a Star Wars Musou and a Bleach Musou made first, due to Star Wars being one of the games that the CEO of Koei Tecmo would like to make before his retirement, and Bleach, because Bleach is coming back this year. So there's a long list of different series I would love to see made into a Musou series, but Naruto is in that list as well. But we gotta wait for Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Houses or 3 Hopes to release before we get another Musou game after that. I really hope that we get another anime-related Musou game, but I'll talk about that later. Going through this chapter, we cut to the performance floor under the dome, and everything is on fire. The entire castle that's inside of Onigashima is just up in flames. And everyone is saying, "Put out the fire! Put out the flames! It's beyond just a castle. All the towers are burning now too." So all of the performance floor is just up in flames. What used to be such a serene-looking scene from the movie quality episode we got of the One Piece anime is now just a blazing inferno, and everyone's trying to figure out what to do next. It's gone from Zuma, 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 Zuma. It's gone from that to just fire, 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 fire. It's just everywhere now. So, and then it cuts to Chopper jumping into the arms of Nami saying, "Are you all right, Nami? What can we do? The fires are only getting bigger." And Nami says, "Chopper and Zoro and Sanji and Frankie and Usopp and Robin and Brook and Jinbei are all missing." So Chopper went through the effort of naming all of the Straw Hats who are not currently in this chapter, just letting us know that they are all missing. Are they stuck in the fire? and Nami says, "Oh no, really? But we can't even search for them because all of Onigashima is burning at this point. We're in danger right here. Unless this island lands on the ground again, there's no escape." I thought I heard the garage go up. I'm trying to listen, but I can't tell. I was correct. It was a garage. Some of my family came home. But, unless this island lands on the ground again, there's no escape. Zeus, can you make it rain? That fire, and then Zeus says, that fire will give me burns. So Zeus is pretty much useless right now. Then we cut to the castle basement. While we have Briscola here, and it shows Beppo as well being carried off by members of the Heart Pirates and some samurais as well. With Beppo saying, "I can't take the heat." And then everyone is saying, "You're such a handful, Beppo. Man, it's hot though. Maybe we are done for. I can't imagine getting out alive. Help us, Captain! Help us! Captain! Help us!" And then we cut to the basement, where it shows people looking at Brooke and wondering like, "Oh, you poor man. We have absolutely no words. We're so sorry for you." And because they don't realize that Brooke is a living skeleton. And Brooke says, "What? Excuse me? I may be a corpse, but I am not charred. If only there was a way for all of us to escape." And then Nico and Robin, being the kind of like gloom and doom person that she is when it comes to her responses, and she says, "But there might not be a way for us to escape at all." And then it cuts to the pleasure hall in the Left Brain Tower. It cuts to Sanji, who's fully up now, being tended to. It cuts to Sanji, who was being tended to by the courtesans in the pleasure hall. It has him saying, "There's no getting out this way. The entire garden's gone." Then we cut to the basement where Ebi is there with Scratchman, who says, "Don't complain about how hot it is. Break down the wall or we're all gonna die. You want to work an arm or do you want to live?" And then Ebi is looking at Scratchman, and Apu is saying, "What's that size good for if you won't use it, moron?" And then, Ebi is insulted by this, and Scratchman says, "Oh yeah, you want to fight?" And then it cuts to the basement as Usopp is trying to use some of his special attack green stars to put out the flames, but the flames are, kind of burning up the flowers beforehand. To think that the fire Orochi created in 1008 turned into this. I'm surprised I haven't gotten into Black Clover yet, contrary to what some people say is actually good. See, I've only gotten as far as where the anime ended for Black Clover. And I've recently heard that Black Clover has entered into its final story arc. So the end of Black Clover is coming up soon. So I might get into Black Clover and start reading through that from the very beginning to see where the story actually ends up. But yeah, Ogata, it's crazy how this fire that Orochi wanted to burn and cut his losses and try and escape, and then just because Kaido betrayed him, he just wanted to burn down all of Onigashima. Who knew that it would turn into this ginormous flaming inferno that it is right now? You think you turned your Berserker Stabbomancer into a monster? Well, let me know what that monster looks like once you get your hand on some primordial gear. And that also reminds me, I need to go back into Warframe and start to work on that as well. But going through this chapter, we cut to the basement, and everyone's still trying to put out the fire. Usopp's trying to put out the fire, but all of his green stars keep getting burnt up. And Hamlet, the giraffe, the weird giraffe gifter is saying, "It's literally a drop in a bucket, and we need a lot more than a bucket." And Usopp is crying, saying, "Shut up, I gotta do something. I made a promise to Izo. I want to save Kiin and Kiku, and while we're at it, I want to save myself." And then Hamlet says, "Were you going to include my name in that list too, boss?" Then we cut to the Right Brain Tower, where it shows Frankie running with a lot of other gifters traveling with them. The ones that were turned by Tama. And Frankie is carrying Zoro, who's just currently unconscious as well, with him saying, How much How's there this much fire in the castle? Where am I supposed to go? I gotta get this guy to Chopper. Zoro's life is in danger. Like I said, what Zoro's going through, it's beating his body down to the point where he has to be seen by Chopper or he ain't gonna make it. And then it has the gifters traveling with Frankie saying, we're all gonna burn before that happens. You keep whining like that and I'll show you a burn. Help us, bro. Then we cut to the 4th floor where Jinbei is at one end of the hallway and Raizo is at the other end of the hallway. With Raizo saying, I am prepared, Sir Jinbei. I appreciate your faith in me. Like I said, I haven't really caught up to the dub of One Piece as far as I'm going into Zou, so I don't know what Raizo's English dub voice sounds like, but I'm gonna stick with this voice that I got for him. And Jinbei says, Luffy chose you, samurai, for your alliance. Why would I doubt you? Now come! And Raizo says, very well. If anything, I am the one putting my trust in you. And then it cuts back to the past when he was talking to Lady Toki as Kozuki Castle was being burned by Kaido and the rest of them. And Raizo says, I failed to protect Lord Odin that day. I left his family exposed to the flames of the burning castle. And despite my ninjutsu, I failed to protect a single one of them. I utterly shame myself. But I swore never to let that happen again. And so... And it shows Raizo on Zou taking in all the water that Zou is showering itself with him asking, Inuarashi, what a deluge, may I take some of it? And since his scroll no mi allows him to, hold things and repel things, he says, I refuse to allow anyone who undertook this righteous raid to perish to mere flames. I've left you waiting long enough. Witness a flood that will make have you doubting your very eyes. Ninpo, scroll jutsu, the elephant's bath. Nin. And using his scroll, he expels who knows how much water towards Jinbei. Restoration! And Jinbei gets hit by it, and even Jinbei realizes that, wow, this is actually a large amount of water I'm about to use. And then he says, Water Heart. Gyujin Korate! Mizugo Koro! Kairioi Panzioi! Now, we've never heard Jinbei say Water Heart before in reference to his attacks. Because we've always seen him use, Ocean Current Shoulder Throw, but we've never seen him say Water Heart first. So real quick, I want to look that up. Gyujin Karate. And I want to go to where Jinbei says Water Heart. So let me look up Water Heart. All right, we're reconnected. Let me just double check and make sure nothing got left off. Are we good? Yeah, we're good. Okay. All right, so you guys didn't miss anything when it jump cut, so we're still fine. You guys didn't miss anything. I was just talking about the page I was going to bring up. So let me go down to his Fishman Karate. Tactical skills, helmsmanship. Okay, so I don't need to go to that part of Jinbei. So let me come over here. Where is it? Where's Ocean Current Shoulder Throw? Where is it? Spear Wave. Karaksagawara Seiken. Okay, he says Water Heart, but I'm trying to find out what this attack is in line with him using Mizugo Koro. Because the most we see is Shark Grip, which makes him crush anything he's holding. And then we have Demon Brick Fist, but we don't have any of the other attacks as well. So I'm looking over to where I'm trying to find out where Mizugo Koro is. But it doesn't even show it. It doesn't even show Ocean Current Shoulder Throw. He said Water Heart during the escape from Impel Down when he launched Crocodile, Daz Bones, and Buggies onto the Navy ship. Wow, it's actually been a hot minute since he actually said Water Heart. But the fact that it doesn't even have Water Heart in his list of techniques and what that actually means. Oh, wait, this is Fishman Karate. I mean, Fishman Jujutsu. I need to go down here. Oh, there it is. There it is. That's what it's called. It is called Mizugo Koro. It is called Mizugo Koro. Mizugo Koro, which is called Water Heart. The primary technique of this style that the user initiates by performing a bowl-shaped gesture with his hands, one hand over the other, while underwater, right before giving the water itself around him a mighty yank. This allows the user to physically grab and redirect currents as if he were manipulating cloth. In the anime, Jinbei collects the water in a glowing blue-white orb in his hands. He then swims off at high speeds, causing the orb to form a spiraling water current, which he then throws to the surface. This move was first used within Impel Down's exterior bay in preparation for the Kaido Ponzioi. In the Viz manga and Funimation adaptations, this is called Water Heart. It's actually been a hot minute since I read through Impel Down, so you'll have to forgive me if that just drew a massive blank from me. You'll have to forgive me if I just didn't remember that at all because it's been so long since I read Impel Down. But Mizugo Koro is called Water Heart. And then Kairyui Ponzioi, we already know about the Ocean Current Shoulder Throw. A technique used by Jinbei performed after Mizugo Koro. He heaves the current upward where it erupts from the ocean's surface as a towering stream of water. This was first seen used in Impel Down's exterior bay in order to lift a makeshift raft onto a marine battleship. Jinbei can generate multiple water streams like this if necessary. And then, let's see. We've seen other different versions where he's used different types of this jujutsu, such as against Who's Who and against Big Mom as well. But with Water Heart, he basically just takes all the water that Raizo has shot at him and is manipulating it with Fishman Jujutsu, Ocean Current Shoulder Throw, and then just throws it throughout the entire castle. And he just repels it and expels it throughout the entire floor. And if we go to the third floor, we see some of the minks there, and they get hit by water, and all the water is just cascading through the different floors. With Jinbei saying, "Flush out the entire castle!" And then Raizo saying, "Let it be in time. Save everyone, Water of Zou." Then it cuts to the first floor, where Killer is being carried off by other samurai, I would dare say. No, it's other pirates, the other of Kit's crew. He's being carried with him saying, "Let me down, boys." And he's laughing to himself, and his other crewmates are laughing with him. And they're saying, "At least let us do this for you. Where do we go, though? There's no escape." It's really rumbling. And they all kind of get hit by some water as well. They say, "It's water, we're saved!" And then it cuts up to Momonosuke on the outside of Onigashima with Yamato saying, "Hurry, Momonosuke!" "Huh? Why? Kaido is still alive!" And there's like an explosion at the top of Onigashima as well. And we see that everyone is getting tossed and turned over all the stuff that's happening inside of Onigashima. You see Chopper getting tossed around in the background as you see the performance floor up in flames. Then Yamato says, "It can't hold any longer. The flame clouds won't last. You have to make flame clouds to keep Onigashima afloat. It's always been the only solution." And Momonosuke is all like, "What?" As, Yamato has Momonosuke by his whiskers. "Onigashima is going to fall!" And then we see Luffy in the air above Kaido, holding a literal lightning bolt as he prepares to attack him with it. And that's the end of chapter 1046. So, if we go through the quick summary and the quick notes of 1046. Short summary. As Luffy continues to fight Kaido, the fire inside the Skull Dome continues to grow out of control, page fully load up before you have me start reading, putting the Alliance and the other people inside in serious danger. Despite several of the Straw Hats' efforts, the fire is too powerful for them to have dealt with. Raizo, with Jinbei's help, enacts his plan, revealing he had used his jutsu to store up water he obtained from Zunisha with the intent to use the water to put out the fires throughout the Skull Dome. Meanwhile, Momonosuke is shocked when Yamato warns him that since Kaido is beginning to reach his limit, the flame clouds that are holding Onigashima in the sky are not going to last much longer, and he needs to produce his own flame clouds powerful enough to replace them, or else Onigashima will crash into the flower capital. Now, real quick, because I really haven't touched on this, Raizo's devil fruit is called the Maki Maki no Mi, a paramecial-type devil fruit that allows the user to create and control scrolls at will, which have special properties including storing objects and generating drawings. It was eaten by Raizo. So the uniqueness of this is he essentially can do what Tenten can do from Naruto, but he's actually incredibly useful to the point where he's not sidetracked to being a side character. With this power, the user can manifest and telekinetically control scrolls. These scrolls can change size as the user wills, being capable of growing big enough to dwarf people in size and extending long enough to wrap around Kaido's extremely long dragon body. Scrolls can be summoned and unrolled almost instantaneously. The scrolls possess the special ability of storing objects inside them, allowing them to intercept and capture any attacks performed by the user's opponents, even energy attacks like Kaido's fire breath. On the user's command, the attack can be released from the scroll at any time, potentially allowing the user to turn their opponent's attack directly against them. Raizo basically has a scroll version of Meliodas' full counter. With the scroll being able to fully wrap around anyone, this gives the user the opportunity to hit their opponent's entire body with the attack. Imagine Kizaru shooting off a blast from his laser, and then Raizo capturing that attack in his scroll, and then wrapping his scroll around Kizaru, if he could touch him. And then Kizaru gets blasted with his own attack as well. I don't know how much effect that would actually have on him, since he can turn into his own attack as well, but picture that. Being able to have anything that's thrown at you repelled back onto you, and then having that same scroll hit you, so then the attack does not miss at all. It also appears as though the user can summon drawings from scrolls and manifest them into lifelike objects. This is shown with Raizo's clone jutsu, in which he generates duplicates of himself after unrolling scrolls below him. The exact nature and composition of the manifested drawings is currently unknown. And of course, the obvious weaknesses of a devil fruit. Then we have Ninpon Bushi no Jutsu, which is basically his clone jutsu. His Ninpo Maki Maki no Jutsu, it's called Ninpo Scroll Jutsu. And then he has Hokan. After using a scroll to intercept his opponent's attack and wrapping the scroll around his opponent's body, Raizo releases their attack from the scroll to strike them across their whole body. Before unleashing this attack, Raizo says "return," following by the name of the opponent's attack. First used against Kaido, redirect his bowler breath attack back at him. An alternative version of this attack, this technique exists, in which Raizo releases the contents of the scroll without wrapping it around anything. It was first used to release a massive deluge of water collected from Zou, so that Jinbei could use it to put out the fires on Onigashima. So he's using Hokan again, basically restoration. That's what it means. When he says restoration, that's the Hokan attack that he used against Kaido, but he's using it by releasing endless amounts of Zou's water into Onigashima in order to put out the flames. Just thought I'd take that little bit to explain what Raizo's devil fruit can actually do. Or was it 12 years? It's been a long time. Actually, you know what? Let me come down here. Okay, so if I go to Mizugo Kodo Kairyu Ipanzioi, it was chapter 546 in volume 56. And if I pull up chapter 546, it's a good thing they have footnotes when it comes to these different attacks. 546 released in 2009. So June 15th is June 15th in 2009. So when it hits June 15th, it'll actually be, yeah, you're right. It is 12 years. It has been 12 years. it's been 12 years since we've seen this name drop for Jinbei's attack. So yeah, it's been 12 years. You're right. You're right, Ozzy. You're definitely right. So I've already gone through chapter 1046. I already went through... Did I go through this small... Oh, here we go. Yeah, I already went through the short summary. So now we're going to go to the quick references. Luffy and Kaido's battle continues. Luffy is capable of holding lightning bolts while in Gear 5. According to Kaido, a Devil Fruit awakening happens once one's mind and body catch up to one's powers. So from Kaido's words, from his experience as well... Only when a person's mind and body catches up to their powers does awakening happen. It just gives us a bit of a rough idea about how awakening happens for certain individuals. So that means that once a person's mind and body has reached the potential to be on par with their own power, that's when awakening happens. So you can see how that happens with Doflamingo. You can see how that happens with Katakuri. And you can clearly see that here, that Luffy's mind and body have fully caught up to his powers. And since his power has been fully realized, he's able to access awakening now. Many members of the Alliance find themselves cornered by the flames in Kaido's castle. Despite several of the Straw Hats' attempts to deal with the fire is too great for them to handle. Frankie takes the unconscious Zoro to Chopper for treatment. Raizo and Jinbei work together to douse the flames in Kaido's castle by utilizing water stored in Raizo's scrolls. Yamato warns Momonosuke that Kaido's is starting to reach his limit and he must work on producing enough flame clouds as big as his or else Onigashima will fall. And those are all of the big notes from chapter 1046 onwards to the last chapter of today, 1047. And then we'll talk a little bit and then I'll bring it to a close for today. So, moving into chapter 1047, load up page, let there not be dead air. Chapter 1047, the sky over the capital, we have Yamato screaming, "You can do it, Momonosuke, make those flame clouds!" With Momonosuke saying, "It's not that easy, I can't do it, they won't appear. I can't." And then it cuts back to the past, where Lady Toki was speaking to Momonosuke, saying, "When you reach the future 20 years from now, you must rebuild the strength of the Kozuki clan." And Momonosuke, a child at the time, still 8 years old, says the exact same thing he's saying now at 28 years old, with tears in his eyes. "But I can't." And it has Momonosuke saying, "You and Hiyori come with me, mother." And then it has Kinemon saying, "Lord Momonosuke, this is the hardest of all for your lady mother. This is the land of samurai, a place where shame is as heavy as life itself. If a man argues with a grave decision that a woman summoned all of her courage to make, he does nothing but shame himself." And then Momonosuke screams, "But I am a child!" And then Kinemon bows his head and says, "If you'll forgive me for saying so, in the wake of Lord Odin's passing, you are not just a child anymore. If I may speak freely, will you give us another chance to fight?" Kinemon says as he's, kind of bloodied, and he's also crying as well. "If our lives are only going to be given over to the flames, then we would prefer to perish for our liege with blades in hand. Will you allow us to die as samurai?" And then there's silence. You see Kanjiro in the background, and everyone's bowing as well. Kanjiro. And then, with grief-stricken eyes, Momonosuke says, "I'm ready, mother, I will go." And then his mother thinks, "Good." And then it cuts back to the present, where Momonosuke realizes what he's doing by saying, "I can't." He says, "I'm failing my mother." And then it has Momonosuke, I guess he's starting to pull Onigashima in one direction, but Yamato is saying, "Stop, don't go to the capital, don't go that way." Then it cuts back to the sky on the roof where Kaido is saying, "So you grabbed the lightning, eh? Preposterous." And then Luffy says, "Gum gum, lightning!" And now we cut to the part where I really wanted to talk about. More about Gear 5. Because now we learn that Luffy is able to not only cause organic material to become rubberized, but he's also able to grab things that shouldn't be able to be grabbed in the first place, such as lightning. So if I go down here, and this is a situational technique, gum lightning. Luffy gives a lightning bolt the properties of rubber in order to grab it, then hurls it at his opponent. This was first used by Kaido, who managed to dodge the attack. So my thing is, right here, is that Luffy has shown that he can touch things that he normally wouldn't be able to touch. As we've seen in the past, Luffy has been able to, survive being hit by lightning. He hasn't been able to touch lightning. Lightning just doesn't affect him. But now, with Gear 5, he is able to touch lightning. He is able to touch an element and make it rubberize. He is able to touch something that really doesn't have a physical state and make it physical for him to manipulate. Which makes me think that if Luffy can do this with lightning, can he do this with light? Can he do this with ice? Can he do this with lava? We really don't know what element is resistant to Luffy being able to change its property. Because if he's able to grab lightning, what else can he grab? He's basically able to grab anything else and make it rubberized. From inorganic to organic material, and now we see him grabbing lightning from the sky itself, making it rubber so he can use it, and then using it to attack someone with. So is there really no limit to what Luffy can rubberize? Because he can rubberize living things and non-living things, and now he can rubberize elemental things. What else can he do with this? Because he's basically able to cover all the bases. He's able to cover elements. He's able to cover living and non-living things. So the next thing that he would have to try and manipulate in order for us to see if it can even go that farther is concepts itself. Because we have concepts of the laws of physics. What I would count towards that is Fujitora's ability to manipulate gravity. Now, I know it would seem outlandish for him to be able to start manipulating gravity and make gravity rubberize, but we just don't know the extent of what Luffy can do. And I would imagine it would actually make Luffy far too OP if he was able to grab onto concepts of the laws of physics, such as gravity, or what's another one? Other devil fruits that manipulate the laws of physics as well. So you say Tekking recently made a video about how this form of Luffy would fare against the admirals. See, that's why I'm bringing this up. How will Luffy fare against the admirals now that he has a form that can take hold of elements and he's able to manipulate it to his liking? Suddenly, Luffy's chances against the admirals suddenly start to go up a little bit because he's able to handle elements now. He's no longer limited to just using armament haki in order to manipulate elements. He now has a literal awakening that can allow him to take elements that would normally harm him or even he'll be immune to, such as lightning, and he's able to use it for himself. So what's to stop him from taking Kizaru's laser, rubberizing the ground and repelling it back at Kizaru? What is to keep him from rubberizing lava, even though it probably would still keep its hot property, him manipulating it to his own benefit? What's to keep him from, like I said, I don't know how Luffy would fare against the concepts of the laws of physics, so I don't know how his awakening would fare against Fujitora's ability to manipulate gravity itself. Don't know. But suddenly, his chances against Logia-type fruits suddenly go up, since he's able to manipulate elements now. And more importantly, how will Luffy fare against Teach's attacks? See, the thing about Teach that really makes him a danger to all fruit users is his ability to just negate their powers outright. The uniqueness of Luffy's fruit, the power of Gear 5 itself relies on the Hito Hito no Mi. So if Teach touches Luffy, sure, Teach still has that ace up his sleeve. The ability to negate all powers from fruit users by touch. That is still something that is a very definite danger to Luffy. Because we've seen multiple times that every time Teach has touched Luffy, he is able to harm Luffy. So the rubberized property of Luffy just disappears when Teach touches him. That's still something that's a danger to Luffy. Despite all the power that we're seeing him show against Kaido right now, Teach's Yami Yami no Mi is still a definite danger to Luffy because it then eliminates Luffy's resistance to blunt force trauma. Like the very first time we see Luffy face off against Blackbeard, sure, Blackbeard gets hit by his jet pistol, but Blackbeard pulls him in, grabs him, and then just slams him into the ground, and that draws blood from Luffy instantly. It's as if Luffy was never rubber at all. That's the danger that Teach poses to Luffy. Despite all the powers we see his Gear 5 have right now, none of that will matter if Teach touches him. That's the caveat here. So all this power we're seeing from Luffy, he still has to figure out how to avoid getting touched by Teach. Because that's like if Sugar was to touch Luffy and Law during the events of Dressrosa, then everything that everyone worked towards during the whole battle of Dressrosa would be rendered invalid. Everything that Luffy does against Teach would be rendered invalid if Teach touches him. That's what makes the Yami Yami no Mi so dangerous. Because all that we see Luffy do with his abilities and his attacks and everything corresponding with that would be rendered null and void if Teach just grabs him once. And if Teach holds on to him, then Luffy's just left at his mercy. No stretching, no continuous gear forms. He would have absolutely no access to gears because his body wouldn't be rubberized in order for him to access anything. That's how dangerous Teach is. Sure, Teach could take twice as much damage due to the uniqueness of the Yami Yami no Mi, but that still doesn't eliminate the fact that the trade-off far exceeds the drawbacks. So Teach still poses a danger to Luffy. I know I've said that same statement in so many words, but it still would pose a threat to Luffy if Luffy gets touched by him. Random question to chat: in the continuum, which JoJo does Kyushu most embody in personality? Choices would be Jonathan and Josuke, and a little bit of Joseph Part 2 in particular. The fact that you would think that I would embody a little bit of Jonathan and Josuke to a degree. And that's where Kaido's discussion with Haki comes into play. Exactly. Because later in this chapter, once we go to it, let me just continue because we got to touch on the very important thing that Kaido says in this chapter, which makes me think that despite all the power that the devil fruits in One Piece have, there's just still one thing that transcends all. So, in this chapter, Kaido says, "So you grab the lightning, eh? Preposterous." And Luffy uses Gum Gum Lightning and throws it at Kaido, and Kaido dodges it. And Kaido says, "Play all the games you want," and immediately hits Luffy. Then Luffy grabs another lightning bolt, makes it rubberize, and kind of like Zoro's freeform movement from Kingdom Hearts, he starts slingshotting his way towards Kaido, and slingshots his way towards Kaido, and he slingshots his way towards Kaido, and Kaido says, "Abilities alone cannot conquer the world." And he smashes Luffy dead center in the face. Now, mind you, Luffy was imbuing his leg with air to try and hit Kaido with, but Kaido just instant transmissions from the path of the kick and hits Luffy directly in the face. And this is where we get the big drop that pretty much everyone assumed, but we got an actual confirmation from Oda in this chapter that the world is convenient that way. Roger didn't have any fruit powers. So it pretty much just confirmed in this chapter that Roger and all of his strength, all that we've seen him do, all of the accolades that he gained, all of the infamy that he gained, all of the stories that we heard about Roger, everything he did throughout his entire life, he did without powers. Only strength and haki. And I said this in my see you more like Jotaro, calm under pressure. I have to be. As the eldest son, I have to be. I have no choice but to be calm under pressure. When things get frantic, and trust me, recently things have been frantic, I have to be the calm in the storm for everyone else. So, if anything, I kind of have that personality from Jotaro as well. Never overreacting over anything because, I mean, it won't help out my family members if I overreact to things as well. I have to be calm. I have to be. Plus, Luffy would still have to deal with Teach using the Guru Guru no Mi as well. Yes, so even if Teach deals, even if Luffy avoids being touched by Teach's Yami Yami no Mi, he still needs to deal with the extended range, the almost unlimited range of the Gura Gura no Mi. I only spoke about the one side of Teach's powers. I didn't speak about the other one. That's another one he's got to worry about. And it just lets you know just how much of a Chad Roger was. Exactly. Getting back to that, everything we've known about Roger, he accomplished with no fruit powers. And with Kaido confirming this, it just shows that Roger is the epitome of built different. Because in this same world where Roger was called the king of the pirates, you have a Yonko that can manipulate souls to do whatever she wants. You have another Yonko that can turn into a ginormous dragon that can shoot out nuke blasts and manipulate elements and has strength that no one else has been able to surpass thus far, still living in One Piece, and has nigh indestructibility up until this fight, but he's still incredibly powerful. I mean, think about it. All this fighting and Kaido is still fighting at full strength. He's still fighting, even though Yamato is saying that he's getting weaker. Kaido is still fighting with the same fervor and same ferocity that we've always seen him fight with since this fighting has started. Roger ranks top among them. And he did all of this, and he faced off against everybody with just strength and haki. That's it. The king of the pirates had nothing but his own strength and willpower, because that's what haki is, the ability to make your willpower manifest. Just his strength and willpower had Roger rank out and outclass everybody. That's how good Roger is. That's how powerful Roger is. Ain't it amazing? This dude is an absolute mad lad of a dude. All the crazy powers we've seen in all of One Piece. Gravity, light, lava, ice, all sorts of different things. Even awakenings. And Roger still beat them all. The dude is amazing. But enough about that. Kaido says the world is convenient that way. Roger didn't have any fruit powers. And using the uniqueness of Luffy's awakening, he slams Luffy into the ground, which becomes rubberized, and allows Kaido to just constantly beat up on him, essentially. And that's when we get the big drop, and this is all in bold, so you know Oda especially wants us to pay attention to the sentence. As Luffy is getting ricocheted back to Kaido, Kaido says, "Because only haki can transcend all." And Luffy, for the first time using Gear 5, tries to use haki on his arms, and that's when we get a brand new attack from Kaido called Destroyer of Death Thunder Bagua. Now, if I go to the Hasaikai page, and we go down to this specific attack, this move is one of several. Because he has Raime Hake, and then he has two variations of it. Raime Hake is his most basic version, and then we have Horai Hake, which is basically Thunder Bellow Bagua, which is a seemingly stronger version of Raime Hake. And then we have Daitoku Raime Hake, which is essentially Destroyer of Death Thunder Bagua, another stronger variant of Raime Hake. This technique was first used against Luffy in his Gear 5 form. So, who knows how many different versions Kaido has of this? but he hits Luffy square in center, and this is the first time we see Luffy actually get bloodied from getting hit by Kaido. Because we've seen Luffy get hit by Kaido in the Gear 5 state, but his body is malformed around it. But here, I don't know if Kaido decided to channel more Haki into his attack than ever before, or if he channeled every ounce of his strength into this attack, but this is the one attack that actually drew a lot of blood, that actually drew blood from Luffy in his Gear 5 state. So is this Kaido displaying that Haki can transcend all by showing that if I take my Haki to its utmost point, I'm able to beat past Luffy's rubberized body and his ability to form itself around my attacks. If I take my Haki to its highest point, then I can injure him. That's what I'm assuming. That's just the theory I have, that Kaido, in this instant with Destroyer of Death Thunder Bagua, brought his Haki to its utmost peak in order to inflict the maximum amount of damage onto Luffy, and this is the reason why we are actually seeing blood actually being drawn from Luffy, as Luffy is knocked into the background. And then we see Luffy with cartoonish circles and birds around his head, teeth missing, blood coming out of his mouth. It shows Luffy grabbing onto Kaido and grabbing onto his chest as his body gets sent high into the air. And Kaido is looking at Luffy not losing that kung fu grip and still holding on to him. And Kaido starts tugging on Luffy's arm, and he even tries to beat on it, saying, "Let go of me. You're only telling me where to find you." And then Kaido transforms into his... Hold on, I just thought of something. When Kaido goes into his dragon form, where does his Kanabo go? Where does his Kanabo go when he goes into his dragon form? Because we don't see his Kanabo on his back or anything. Does he just drop it? Because it's definitely not in his hands when he transforms. So where does his Kanabo go when he transforms into his Zoan state? Why did I never think of that up until now? Because he always has it when he transforms into his human form or hybrid form, but it's just gone when he goes full dragon. How did I never think of that? Yo, D-Struck, what's going on? And now it makes you wonder just how strong was Zebek? Yeah, it makes you wonder just how strong Rox was if it took the combined might of both Roger and Garp to take him on. So, how strong was Zebek at the end of all things? How strong was Rox? I'm going to call him Rox. Even though he's called Rox, the Zebek Rox is what everyone refers to him as, so I'm just going to stick with calling him Rox. So, only one place it can go. Oh, no. Oh, no. Maybe he puts it on his back. I don't know. I'm probably thinking of the wrong questions here. But Kaido goes into his full dragon form, and then using the serpentine style of his body, uses Dragon Twister Demolition Gust to shoot up blades towards Luffy in the clouds, because Luffy's body is all the way up in the clouds right now. And he says, "You still have a weakness to cutting attacks, I presume." And then it shows Luffy getting hit in multiple places by these blades of air. But Luffy is not losing his grip, even though this is directly hurting him. So even though Gear 5 is an immensely powerful form of Luffy, it does not render him immune to his own weakness, which is cutting attacks and stabbing attacks and attacks anything that can cut rubber or inflict more harm on rubber itself still harms Luffy even in this state. And then it cuts to the Flower Capital as everyone is sending off their skyboats as they're all thinking about, well, the festival's coming to an end and tomorrow we'll be worked like slaves again. And it has everyone cheering and it has everyone being happy for the final night, presumably for them. As someone says, "I hope I get to live another year." So even though they're having fun right now, they're still thinking about tomorrow and how their lives are just going to go right back miserable again. And then we have Toko here who's laughing with her saying, "Find the way to daddy." And it just makes you think about Yasuye and just how amazing a father he was ever since we known him. And then it cuts back to Kaido, and it also shows Onigashima floating in the background as well from the Flower Capital as everyone is setting up their skyboats. And it has Kaido saying, "Let go of me, come down here, Straw Hat." And then he just blasts Luffy with bolo breath again, but Luffy still holds on as he coughs out black smoke. And then it cuts to the inside of the Skull Dome where everyone is asking Hyogoro if he's all right, and Hyogoro's on the ground, and he's all like, "Are you all right, boss Hyogoro? It seems that Onigashima is in danger of falling." And then Hyogoro says,
"That just means we're pressuring Kaido. Tell me then, which would you prefer? If the Straw Hat fellow defeats Kaido, we will all fall to our deaths. But if we survive, it means Kaido's won."
"Really? Is that supposed to be a debate? I've got children back in Hakumai, and my wife is in Ringo. If we win this battle, I'll rest assured they can leave a good life. How wonderful that will be. We'll have a country we can be proud of again. Go ahead, Straw Hat, crush Kaido and don't worry about us." Not realizing that Momonosuke is outside Onigashima trying to create his own flame clouds in order to help keep Onigashima from falling. And then it has the Beast Pirate saying,
"Oh, are all of you samurai insane? Every last one of us is going to die!"
And Hyogoro says,
"And what's wrong with that?"
Then we cut to the basement where Hamlet and Usopp are running with Usopp saying, "I don't want to die! I don't want to die! I refuse to die! Not me! I'm gonna live no matter what it takes!" Completely opposite of how the samurai view their lives in accordance to this whole rebellion. And then, as they're running for their lives, they all get swept up in the deluge that Jinbei is washing through the entire castle. Then we cut to their treasure repository on the second floor as we see a nail fall out of the body of Orochi, with him saying,
"There, it's out. Some vibration jarred the sea prism nail loose. At the very least, I can take you down with me."
And then it has Orochi saying,
"Are you a Chinguden? I'm taking your wretched daughter to hell with me."
And it has Orochi, who's completely free of the rubble as he assumes his Yamato no Orochi form, but he's still on fire, and he has only one head. And it has him bearing down on Hiyori, who has tears in her eyes, but we don't see what happens next. Then we cut to the outside with Yamato saying, "Hey, Momo!" And Momonosuke says, "Huh? Luffy?" And as both Momonosuke and Yamato look up, they both look up with utter shock, with their eyes popping out of their heads, as it shows a ginormous black fist, obviously imbued with armament and conqueror's haki, parting through the clouds, bearing down on Kaido, with Luffy saying, "I'm gonna put an end to all of this, but Onigashima's in the way." Oh, no, wait. That wasn't Yamato who was saying that. It was Luffy saying that. "Hey, Momo!" And, Momonosuke says, "Huh?" And both Yamato and Momonosuke both look up. And Luffy says, "I'm going to put an end to all of this, but Onigashima's in the way, so move it!" And Yamato, in utter shock, says, "He's going to punch right through the island." And it shows from a far-off distance that the fist can pretty much destroy the entire island if Luffy allows it to. Because the fist, we've all seen the strength of Luffy. And if he imbues all of his strength into this ginormous giant fist that eclipses the size of most of Kaido, then it's going to utterly destroy the entire island itself. And especially given the fact that he's not only using armament with this fist, but also conquerors with this fist. So the devastation that this fist is going to inflict on whatever it lands on is going to be tremendous. I wouldn't be surprised if it eclipses whatever devastation was caused. If it eclipses the devastation that Law caused with his shock will that he used to pretty much massively injure Big Mom from the inside. Because we saw what happened when his sword extended all the way into Onigashima and then he used shock will. It caused a ginormous gaping hole to be inside of Wano that Big Mom eventually fell into, and then some of the explosives from the basement fell into her as well, and she was enveloped in the explosion. I wouldn't be surprised if this attack doesn't rock, if not destroy, a whole region of Wano. I would not be surprised. But Yamato says he's going to punch through the highland. And then it shows the fist from a far off distance, and Momonosuke doesn't say anything. And Luffy says, "Do it, Momo, I believe in you." And Momonosuke says, "What?" And all we see is just Kaido's eye looking up at this fist. And that is the last chapter of April, and because we're on break for Golden Week for One Piece. And that's all the chapters that we got. Quite a unique series of chapters, isn't it? Kaido about to get hit with the hand of a god. No knock on Usopp. There's room for 2 deities on the Sunny. So, after all that we've seen, and now I can sit back in my chair and look directly at you guys. After all we've seen in these chapters, now we're coming up to this is Luffy's final attack. He can't go any bigger than this. He can't go any bigger than making his fist the size of a god's hand and then bringing it down on Kaido. He's not going to be able to surpass this attack in his fight with Kaido. This is his last resort. This is his last attack. This is going to be the attack that decides it all. And want to know why I'm sure this is it? Because if this was any other attack Luffy would be trying to just hit Kaido with, he wouldn't be gripping onto Kaido to ensure that Kaido gets hit by it. So this is the final attack that Luffy's going to use on Kaido. And it makes you wonder, like, this is the same thing he did to Doflamingo when you think about it. This is the same type of attack he was going to use against, same type of attack he used against Doflamingo in their final attacks against one another. He used King Kong gun, which was a much larger version of his Kong gun, and he hit Doflamingo with it. Now he's going to be using the very same type of attack, only much larger, on the person that Doflamingo once served. Ain't it funny how Luffy took out Kaido's one supply of smiles with a giant fist, and now Luffy is going after the person who wanted those smiles with a giant fist. Think about it. The two people who were associated with the era of smiles, Luffy's going to beat down with a big old giant fist to the face. So it begs the question, what is Kaido going to do in retaliation? Because he has to have a final attack as well. I highly doubt that Destroyer of Death Thunder Bagua is the last thing we will see Kaido try and attempt. Because he's tried to use Demolition Gus. That has not swayed Luffy. He tried to pull Luffy's arm off of himself. That definitely hasn't helped. Because Luffy has the strength of Garp right now. And that's working. So what else does Kaido have as a last-ditch effort to try and keep himself from being... Because he knows that Conqueror's Haki-imbued armament works on him. He knows from the 5 other people in his past that have used it against him. Whitebeard, Shanks, Rocks, and Odin. Whitebeard, Shanks, Rocks, Odin, and now Luffy rank among the people who are able to injure him this way. So he knows that Conquerors can work against him. So what is he going to pull out of his hat in order to combat this very big attack that could very well flatten him? Now, Ogata-san says Kaido's unfazed, and I'm thinking he could tank this attack. If Kaido tanks this, then I see no other person in all of One Piece who has greater durability. Because we've seen Big Mom, but we've also seen that Big Mom can be heavily injured. Law has clearly shown that his fruit abilities are able to go past Big Mom's nigh indestructibility effortlessly, multiple times, to the point where she does everything she can to beat Law off of her in order for Law to not use his awakened abilities against her. But if Kaido tanks this attack from Luffy and gets back up, this will be the single greatest display of stamina and durability in all of One Piece we have ever seen. If Kaido gets back up after this attack, then Kaido will be the next definition of built different after Roger. Because Roger had that title, and he still has that title. But Kaido would be up there in terms of just, wow, he's just built different for him to survive getting hit by not only Conqueror's Haki imbued fists, but one that could destroy all of Onigashima. For Kaido to get hit by that, and if he survives... Oh... No wonder I had connectivity problems. No wonder my Ethernet cable came out completely from my laptop, and that's why it was skipping that one time. So now my connection should get back to being fast again. But it just makes you think, if Kaido survives this, he's just a monster. But overall, and let me just speak on all the chapters that we got, we saw a lot of good MVP moments from a lot of characters. We saw Raizo coming out with the Water of Zou in order to get rid of the flames that was pretty much threatening the lives of everyone on the inside. Then we have Jinbei helping out. We got some of the other Straw Hats helping out as well, trying to mitigate some of the damage. We don't know what's going to happen to Hiyori right now. We got to wait until the next chapter to see who comes in and saves Hiyori, because Orochi has been freed of the Kairoseki nail, and now he's in his Yamato no Orochi form, but it's only one singular head, and he's still on fire. So we don't know who's going to rescue Hiyori in this moment, because unless she's got the Ame no Habakiri with her, and she's actually a skilled swordsman, and she kills him, we don't know. In episode 115, Kaido told the Supernovas that they wouldn't be able to open up his scar. Do you think the final attack Luffy uses against Kaido needs to open up his scar to defeat him? I mean... I feel like with this attack... Hold on. I feel like with this attack, Luffy has to, with his Haki, he has to completely transcend all of the durability that's on Kaido. I mean, him using Ryuo is what's allowed him to inflict harm on Kaido in its entirety. But I don't think it would require. Thank you, Okada. I don't think him opening up the same injury that Odin left him would be necessary to defeat him. Because we've already seen that Kaido is on his last legs, but he's been tanking everything. But I feel like there's only so much you can block before you start to before your body just starts to give out on you. And I feel like this fist is really all it's going to really take to take down Kaido, if it does. So I don't think it necessarily has to reopen his scar. Are we reconnected? I will not be stopped! I don't care how long it takes, I'm gonna get all my thoughts out of these chapters right here and now! I will not be stopped! I'm sorry if I had to drag out this stream in order for me to get my thoughts out. But I will not end my reflections without getting all my thoughts out and giving you my intro. It ain't over till a fat lady sings. Oh, I'm not fat, so that don't count. Now I get to continue off where I left off. Ozzy was talking about correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Zoro give Kaido a brand new scar? Yes, he did. I have returned with newfound energy because now I get to continue where I left off. Apologies, everyone. Ogata-san, Ozzy, everyone in chat that was here. I apologize. Stellus as well. Once again, thank you for being a member. I'm able to continue where I left off. Gliding, Psycho, CJ, everyone involved. I'm able to continue where I left off. I am not stopping. ZKK agenda? I don't care what their agenda is. You ain't about to stop me from what I got to say about these chapters. Overall, these were great chapters. We got to see Luffy show some of his strongest moves, show that he's able to contend with basically the strongest creature in the world. And now he's coming close to pretty much ending this fight. Now, whether that this is going to be the big attack that finishes it all, where either Kaido is defeated or something else happens, we don't know. We're on Golden Week break, so we gotta wait until this whole Golden Week is over before we continue with this final blow for Luffy. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we cut from Luffy and his Gum Gum God Hand bearing down on Kaido, and then it cuts to what's happening with everyone else. Either that, or some of you have said maybe we cut to the backstory of Kaido and we get to a flashback and we learn how he became who he was, learn how he got this strong, maybe even learn a little bit about his time with rocks. Who knows? But we definitely need a backstory because we got the backstory of Big Mom. So now we need the backstory of Kaido. Do you think Kaido's awakening is his bloodthirsty mode? Like his drunken states? I honestly feel like those are just akin to him being drunk, like his different states of being drunk. His bloodthirsty mode is just like an offset of him being drunk, and those are his mood swings, which affects the way that he fights. But I wouldn't call that his awakening, though, because the whole environment around him isn't affected by this, and we never see any indication that he is affecting the environment around him with his drunken state. So I wouldn't call his different mood swings in his drunken state to be his awakening, because that doesn't seem like something that would come with his dragon form. That just comes with him being an alcoholic. So I wouldn't call that his awakening. I feel like if he does have an awakening, it would be something that we have not seen, that is no way affiliated with his different states that he's in. That much I can say. But who knows? Who knows? We'll just have to see. But honestly, we really do need a backstory for Kaido in order to see where things have gone, in order to see how things got to where they are right now, how he got his ideology, how he became that strong, how he became that nigh invincible, how he got the Hasaikai, how he came across to joining Rox's crew, which Big Mom was on before him. and they became friends over the years, or at least they just became a team over the years. And that's why they're on such, I want to say, cordial terms with one another, but who knows what their relationship with each other was like when they were on rocks. I hope we know why he chose Wano. I mean, there are a bunch of different reasons why people would want Wano. I mean, it is the place where Kairoseki comes from. I said it years ago. I said it, that Wano is essentially the Wakanda of One Piece. Whereas you can only get vibranium from Wakanda, you can only get Kairoseki from Wano. And not only that, but you have people who are able to shape it in any way that they choose from Wano. I mean, that's where Kairoseki originates from. So Wano is sitting on a literal gold mine of sorts, or a Kairoseki mine of sorts, that if anyone got their hands on, I mean, Kairoseki is extremely strong, and it's also the anti to devil fruit users. So if the world government were to get their hands on the massive stockpile that is Wano that has all that Kairoseki on it, it would spell bad news for anyone with devil fruit abilities that happens to also be a pirate. So there's numerous reasons why people would want Wano. And even Kaido says that there's an enormous labor force here, but that's not one of the key reasons, though. Because it's funny how, when we read through the Ultimate Chapter, it's funny how Sengoku brought up that why is it that all these big names are being drawn to Wano of all places? So there's something else to Wano that we're not seeing. Because I still remember that conversation that Sengoku had with Akainu back then during the Ultimate Chapter. Why is it that all these big names are always drawn to Wano? What is it about Wano that draws big names to the island? From Whitebeard to Kaido to Big Mom. Big Mom had her reasons as far as, you know, coming to get Luffy and kill him. But all these big names being drawn to Wano of all places. All these supernovas being drawn to Wano of all places. This event taking place on Wano of all places. Well, there's something else to Wano that we're just not seeing quite yet. And I wouldn't be surprised if we find out during the flashback, or if we find out during the aftermath of Wano, or after the Straw Hats have left. I wouldn't be surprised if we find something out then. But I really do hope we get a backstory for Kaido, and we find out what happened. Once again, I apologize for the big gap in nothing happening with the stream because the internet went out. My sincerest and humblest apologies, because I'm pretty sure that all the people that were watching once before, they probably dipped because it was just taking too long for it to be fixed, but I'm pretty much at the mercy of my internet here, and it's unfortunate, but them's the breaks. But I do have to say that once Wano is over, and I've been thinking about this for a couple of days now, where do we go for One Piece after this? Have we ever truly thought about where we go for the story of One Piece after we're done with Wano? Because there's always been some propelling force that has orchestrated the Straw Hats to go to the next big arc. But as far as I know, there is nothing major that's taking place on Wano right now that will propel them to their next location, unless that gets revealed during the aftermath. But as of right now, the one big thing that has driven the Straw Hats as of right now has been their alliance with Law, and for them to eventually take down Kaido. That has led them past Punk Hazard, that has led them past Dressrosa, that has led them past Whole Cake Island, because they had to take a deviation off their courses of going to Wano in order to get Sanji back. But their main purpose and the main thing that has driven a big portion of the time skip, of the post-time skip, was the alliance with Law and taking out Doflamingo and taking down Kaido. But there's nothing else majorly big that is propelling them, that seems like it'll propel them through a series of arcs like we've been through. Like this whole pirate alliance has been going on since Punk Hazard, and it still continues now. So once Kaido is beaten, What happens with the whole pirate alliance, with the Straw Hat Heart Pirates alliance, and then where do the Straw Hats go from here? Because once Wano is free, there is nothing else really keeping Luffy and the others to Wano. And you say Sphinx to visit Ace's grave with Marco or Elbaf. Either one of those. I wouldn't be surprised if Marco takes them to see Ace's grave. And I wouldn't be surprised. Ooh, I just had a thought in mind. And I'm not going to assume to know what Oda is thinking. But wouldn't it be something that when Marco left, what if something happened to Sphinx while Marco was gone? And even though this was a hidden village that Whitebeard was protecting and looking after all these years and no one knew, what on the offhand if Marco says, like, come, I'll take you to Sphinx, and they go to Sphinx and it's destroyed? And I just, and it's a very wild theory, but what if it's destroyed by Edward Weevil? Yo, Ogata-san, you got the same thought. You have the same thought. You just said Weevil the moment I said Weevil. So what if, when all is said and done at Wano, Marco's all like, let's go visit your brother. And they go back to the graves of Whitebeard and Ace, and they come back to Sphinx, and they find it destroyed by Weevil. That could jumpstart another series of events, because one, Edward Weevil's out there being, spurned on by his mom to get all the treasure that Whitebeard had behind, but not realizing that Whitebeard treasured his family above all else, and all his money went towards the upkeep of his former village. But also the disrespect that Weevil is showing the home of Whitebeard and the final resting place of Whitebeard and Ace. That could just spurn on a whole new series of events. And since Weevil is no longer a part of the Seven Warlords, it's not like he's going to be protected by the world government and the world government is going to intervene, which means that this will become a personal vendetta of the Straw Hats versus Weevil and his disrespect of Whitebeard and Ace. So, like I said, I'm not trying to assume to know how Oda writes his stories, but what if that's the direction we go in? Because as of right now, for all we know, Sphinx is not protected by anyone. If anything, Sphinx was protected by Marco. But now Marco's all the way in Wano. So who knows what's happening with that island right now since Marco's been away. Even though I would dare say it's been like a couple of days since he's been gone. A lot can happen in a couple of days. So it's an outlandish theory. It's an outlandish hope or thought that this could possibly be where the story goes from here. But that's just a thought that just came in mind. Because it sounds like it would fit, but like I said, I don't want to assume to know how Oda writes his stories. But overall, we have no choice but to see how this fight ends and how Wano is eventually free at the end. We have no choice but to see how things go from here. So, I've given all my thoughts. We still need to see, the things that I want to see happen before Wano ends is I want to see Kaido's backstory, how he became where he was, and all the things that transpired up until right now, leading to the eventual, pretty much the liberation of Wano. I mean, it's going to be liberated. You don't bring up Luffy's power to become the warrior of liberation, and then you bring up the drums of liberation, and not have Wano be liberated at the end of it all. You don't. I want to see the demise of Orochi. I want to see the defeat of Kaido. I want to see if Big Mom actually survived that explosion or if she's there at all. I want to see the Charlotte children show up and then everything's all said and done and they literally have nothing to do in Wano. I want to find out if the world government will find out that Luffy's awakened the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. I want to see what's going on out in the world. I want to see what series of events are going to happen that will cause the next arc to happen. There's a lot of things, but gratefully, I can say that there's really no loose ends to tie up for this entire arc, save for defeating Kaido. I can say it fully right now that we only have Kaido left as the last obstacle before we can call this entire Onigashima raid to a close. No more side fights. No more fights between the Straw Hats and the Tobiropo. No more fights between the Akazaya 9 and their respective foes, such as Fukuro Kuju and the Oniwa Banju and Orochi and... Oh, wait, there's still 2 loose ends. Orochi's still alive. So we have Kaido, and we still have Orochi, who's still bearing down on Hiyori, so hopefully someone will rescue her. Those are the only 2 things left. The 2 big bads of this entire arc are still the only 2 obstacles left to take down. Question. Where's Denjiro? You didn't think I forgot about him, did you? Where's Denjiro? Because we've seen Kiku, we've seen Kinemon, we've seen Raizo, and we've seen Kawamatsu, we've seen Inuarashi, we've seen Nekomamushi, but we have not seen Denjiro. Could Denjiro be the one that saves Hiyori in the end? Because we have not seen that man anywhere. Think about it. We haven't seen that man everywhere. We've seen the names dropped. We've seen the people in the chapters, but Denjiro is the only one who's still unaccounted for during all of these events. So what if, and given the fact that he was the closest to Hiyori during the time that she was growing up, and he looked after her, I wouldn't be surprised if in a juxtaposition, I got a thought. Hear me out. I have a thought. You know how Denjiro, in the appearance of Kiyoshiro, when he was under the guise of Kiyoshiro, he apparently cut down Hiyori in front of Orochi for her disrespecting him in front of everyone when he tried to take and kill Toko, but Hiyori says no, don't do it, and she slapped him. And Denjiro, for her disrespect towards Orochi, cut her down in the process. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a parallel to that situation, but instead of him cutting down Hiyori, he cuts down Orochi, bringing it full circle. I wouldn't be surprised if Denjiro does that. So that's another wild, outlandish theory that I have, because Denjiro is still unaccounted for. So I wouldn't be surprised if Denjiro is the one that saves Hiyori. Given how much he looked after her, I would hate for Denjiro not to be there to save her after all he did to protect her while she was growing up throughout the years. But that's just me. That's just me. We're going to have to see if the chapters even go in that direction. But now that's another thing we have to concern ourselves with. Kaido's defeat, Orochi's defeat, and Denjiro's location. Haven't seen Denjiro since 1009 and a panel in 1022. Maybe he was looking for Hiyori the whole time since the Scabbards got revived. Also, Inuarashi hasn't been in a chapter since 1026. Yeah, when you think about it, because the last we saw was Nekomamushi dashing towards the castle with Carrot after they pretty much wiped the floor with Peros Pero. But we have not seen Inuarashi since he defeated Jack. So, who knows where he is? Matter of fact, let me see where the synopsis ends for him. Inuarashi. Let me look him up real quick. Let me go to the synopsis. Wano Country Arc. And the last we see is... Yeah, the last we see is Inuarashi taking out Jack, and Orochi secretly watching Jack's defeat from far off inside of the treasure repository. That is the last we saw of Inuarashi. So that's another person that's unaccounted for. Inuarashi and Denjiro. So we don't know where they are, but I'm sure we'll find out soon. But that's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. A good solid 2 hours and 17 minutes talking about the 3 chapters of One Piece we got in April. That's all I got. Boy, that was a lot of talking, but I'm glad I was able to get all my thoughts out. And despite the internet having a couple of hiccups here and there, I'm glad I was able to get all my thoughts out in one fell swoop without having to include it in like a secondary video to attach to this. If I missed out anything important, be sure to put it down in the comments below, because I want to make sure I cover all my bases about everything that I talked about today. But I feel like I have. But that's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. April was a very solid month for One Piece. Not only did we get some fantastic chapters, we also got some fantastic episodes. I mean, episode 1015, just the quality of it all. I know I wasn't as loud as I wanted to be in my recording of it for my reaction for 1015 because it was 10 o'clock at night and a lot of my family members were going to sleep. So I couldn't, scream my head off like I wanted to. But April's been a very good month for One Piece. So now we just need to think about what May is going to bring. Oh boy. If we don't end the Wano arc in May, then, what else is there to cover for One Piece in the Wano arc in May? Thoughts for another time. We'll just have to wait until Golden Week is over for us to see where the chapters go through and where the story goes from here. But that's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. As a closing note for everyone who is still here, I will be starting my One Punch Man and Jujutsu Kaisen read-throughs next week. One Punch Man will be on a Wednesday, while my Jujutsu Kaisen read-throughs will be on a Thursday, because I'm already doing the beginning after the end on Tuesdays. So, like I said, these will be videos that I make instead of it being live streams, unless you guys want it to be live streams. If I just do it as videos, I can just end it right then when I'm done reading through. It'll be videos. They'll be videos. They will be videos that I recorded, just like I did with my Demon Slayer series. I will be recording me reading through entire volumes of One Punch Man and Jujutsu Kaisen, then getting it to you guys as I bring One Punch Man and Jujutsu Kaisen finally to the channel. It's going to be a busy week, and you probably won't see me play video games on the channel as often because I kind of want to get back into reading stuff for you guys. So I'll probably be taking a little bit of a sabbatical towards streaming games on the channel unless something majorly releases that I absolutely want to play. But since nothing in May is releasing that really has my attention, it's pretty much just going to be one big massive reading month for myself and you guys. So I hope you guys are looking forward to it, because I know I am. I've been really itching to get into Jujutsu Kaisen recently, and I cannot wait to see where the story goes. So that's all I got for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. I really do hope you guys enjoyed my reflections on the chapters of One Piece that we got in April. Now we just need to wait for May, once this break is over, and see where we go from Luffy bringing down his Gum Gum God hand on Kaido, and where the story is going to go from there, and what loose ends are going to be tied up in the next chapter. All I can say is, hope y'all enjoyed. I love doing this. You guys know I do, and I say it all the time, but I appreciate each and every single one of you who tune in to watch what I do. This is my gifting. This is my calling. This is what God has given me the ability to be good at, and I am all but thankful. I am all thankful for being able to use my talents not only for myself, but for others as well, because, what other use is there for talents except for, sharing it with others? So all I can really say at the end of the day is thank you for your continued appreciation and support. Thank you to all my subscribers. Thank you to all my new members. I really do thank you, because you're helping support the dream of one day being able to do this full time so I can do so much more for you guys. But at the end of the day, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed what you saw here today, then consider subscribing or even consider becoming a member, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, later, peoples. That was good.